Oh, I don't like the picture. Don't like it. Don't like it. That's a bit more glam. Okay. We are live. It's 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock in the morning in Germany. And I'm pleased to say Instagram or YouTube has put a filter on my face to soften the ravages of being up so early. I will do a little reading. Welcome to anyone who's joining me. I'll do a little reading now for the session. And let's see what's in store while people come online. I was going to have a cup of tea with some strong caffeine in it, but caffeine doesn't work until you've been awake for 90 minutes. Did you know that? Hello from New Zealand. That's nice. Well, then you have rewarded me. My sacrifice in getting up so early has been rewarded. We have a friend in New Zealand online. That's very, very, very nice. Thanks for saying hi. Thanks for coming online. I'm doing my my reading for the reading, my reading for the session. Okay. Please give me a reading for the session, for the live stream. Ah, Saskia in Greece. You're up early, Saskia. Okay, let's see. Me, you, the reading. Oh, that's interesting. That's a bit interesting. Okay, good. Well, what I'm getting is this. Last week, I'll show you the reading. It's one card for me, one card for you guys watching, and one card for the session. Here we go. A card for me, a card for you, a card for the session. So I've got reversed Wheel of Fortune. What we had last week or maybe 2 weeks ago was that I got the Wheel of Fortune for the session, and I interpret Wheel of Fortune as being the feeling of loss of control, the feeling of things being out of control. And sure enough, in that session, I was very tired. I'm suffering, I think, from a slightly long COVID syndrome at the moment, as I think maybe a lot of us are. And I did something I've never done before, which I lost control of my my tarot reading praxis, as the Germans say, practice. And I was doing a reading for someone, and there was someone else in the queue. So I had this queue of this queue of people in a list written down in my notebook of people who I was going to read for. And I put down the cards and I read for person A. And then in the course of the reading, my mind went completely haywire, and I carried on reading as if the cards were for person B. So that probably caused confusion, and I'm not quite sure whether they ever forgave me. And it was interesting because I talked about mistakes in the place of mistakes in tarot sessions, how we deal with them and what they mean. I mean, tarot is an oracular moment, so nothing is ever completely a mistake. But I finished the live stream, and I was kind of like really disturbed to have lost control, Wheel of Fortune. And so I talked to a friend, and kind of like he talked me down. And we all agreed that that was actually quite a good teaching moment. But here we are again, I think 2 weeks later, and I've got reversed Wheel of Fortune. So it looks like I won't be losing control in this session, which is a great relief. So in the card for you people watching, it feels like there might be someone out there, or more than one person, Five of Swords, who is for whom something hasn't turned out as they wished it would. Okay. But frankly, for the session, we've just got a High Priestess. So we've got a classic sort of tarot reading card there. You know, hidden things hopefully coming to surface. And here we are with our cards, picking up those bits and bobs from, you know, the other dimensions of the mind. So that's okay. That's kind of nice. We have a few more people hopping on. Again, since last week, there's Saskia. Oh, Saskia, that's nice for you. Tarot works in mysterious ways. The mistake was not a mistake at all. Yes, I think I agree with that. It was, my brain was so sort of odd that day that I feel I didn't even quite take in what had happened. There were quite a few people online and people were quite chatty, and the chat was, I do these live streams on a mobile phone, and the chat was kind of scrolling up. Like less than half my phone shows me the chat. And so if there's a lot of people talking, I have to scroll up and down and read what's coming in. And it's constantly sort of like moving upwards as new comments come in. And sometimes if your brain isn't really functioning fast, it can get quite overwhelming. And I slightly lost track of exactly who the people were who I had, in a sense, delivered this crazy reading for. And I hope they've forgiven me. And as I said at the last live stream, if those two people would like to have a private one-to-one with me to clear up any confusion, then I'll do that with pleasure. A thought-provoking question with lots of points of view. Thanks, Lee. Yeah, I think so. And there's a guy called Marcus Katz, who's a very established sort of tarot guru. He has his own tarot academy. I find his books a bit difficult to read, but he's very sharp and he's very clever, and he's done things like NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. I think he's actually one of the cleverest people in tarot, one of those most modern people in tarot, even though it doesn't always come across in his books, frankly. But he has this concept of the oracular moment, I mean, tarot is an illogical thing. It's a surrealistic ritual, and we sit down and we do it. And what we think we're doing is not always what we're doing. I was once tested. Some young ladies came, they were friends of mine, back in the very old days when I was very young. They came round for a tarot reading, and what they didn't tell me was that they were testing me to see if I was any good. And at one stage in the reading, I said something like, "Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater." And they both laughed, and they said, "Oh, you've passed the test." And the test was that one of the young ladies was pregnant, and she had wanted to know whether I, as a psychic being, could pick that up in the course of the session with my cards. And I had said, "Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater," talking about some other issue. But I had used the word baby, and she was going to have a baby. And so as far as she was concerned, I had passed the test. And I think I had passed the test. And I think, in my experience, it's not always exactly, as I said, it's not, you think you're giving someone a message, and you are with your conscious mind, but there are unconscious things coming in, from wherever they're coming in, and they're kind of surfing on your mind, and they use you. And so whatever happens, I think, is meant to happen. Well, you have to have that point of view that whatever happens is meant to happen and has meaning. Exactly. Well, everyone, so far it's a small and intimate session, and I'm very pleased about that because because last time was very crowded. And I've also got a new idea for doing live readings in order to, in a sense, give me the feeling that it's quieter and more in control, which is that I thought that I'd say I'll do a maximum of 3 formal readings per live stream. One early on, like sort of now-ish, one halfway through, like half past the hour, and one towards the end, sort of like 45 minutes past the hour. And then in between, we can chat about other things. But so the three readings will have like clear blue water between them. And then I think for now, that will make me feel a bit more relaxed. So if anybody tuning in would like a reading, let me know, and we'll make a little list, make a little queue. And if there are more than 3 people who want readings, I will think of a kind of like something very simple to do, like I'll draw a 1 card from my, what was that noise? I'll draw 1 card from my morning card deck, which I can also do if you prefer. These are my homemade morning cards. Each one has a thing on it. But they're a bit like angel cards. Look, there's laughter, imagination. Some are nouns, some are adjectives. Young at heart. So if you don't want a full reading, I can always pull one of those. Okay, Moy F. Honey, I would love some clarity about the next few months. Life has been very challenging. Okay. I can do that, just a clarity reading. So so the early reading goes to Moy F. Or would you like to tell me more? Would you like to focus more on the question, or just clarity about the next few months? Either or is fine. Is there going to be a focused subject or just clarity for the next few months? It's about my 100-year-old mother who is very low. Okay. I went through a similar time of life last year. My mum was 94, bless her. Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is this. And I want to know whether to use 2 or 3 cards. I'm going to use a Major Arcana only deck. You can tell it's early morning, can't you? Because I'm slurring my words. To decide which questions to ask. So first question, do we use 2 or 3 cards? We use 2 cards. This is for Moy, okay? Please help us with this reading for Moy. And it's really about Moy's 100-year-old mother who is very low. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. I'm doing my self-generating spread, Moy, and so I've asked for 2 questions to ask. So these are not answers yet. We have Devil and we have Tower. Okay. And I'm going to decide what the questions are. for the devil. They seem to be rather similar. For me, devil is something to do with temptation, a temptation to do something, or a repressed element, repressed desire. And tower here is like sort of what needs to be purged, what needs to come out. So and this is Moy, this is about you, right? It's about this is seen from your point of view. This is not seen from your mother's point of view. Am I right about that before I lay down these cards? Okay. Okay, let's please give us 2 cards for Moy. Okay, I'm going to show you what they are, and then I'm going to think about them for a bit. So answering the devil question, we have 9 of rods. Answering the tower question, we have 5 of coins. It seems that there was something that needed to be purged and needs to come out, and we've got a kind of like a poverty card, and we know that the poverty card also has companionship in it and love in it. It may be, okay, this is what I'm getting, Moy, that, okay, your mother is quite old. It's not easy for any of us to get older. It makes us feel mortal. And I know that there are times when, in a sense, the negativity, the sort of, let's say negativity, or the negative or melancholy or sad feelings about life and the human condition and just mortality, they can kind of crowd in on one. And I think it's very natural. And I think it's what the human body feels and the human mind feels. And I think it feels like those feelings, which they're in the body and they're in the brain, and they kind of, what I'm getting is that they need to be felt, and they need to be purged. They need to. So when I get this card here, the card of purging, I feel that, okay, we've got to, we can't sort of turn these things off that are happening. They have to be expressed. They have to come out. They have to come through. And if they're allowed to come through, maybe they become less scary. And if they're kind of accepted and loved, maybe they become less scary. It's the only way ahead. And in 5 of Pentacles, there is this feeling of love in the card. And there is also this interesting image that even though it's a bad moment, there is this, safe, warm, happy place. Maybe you could even say, inside the church, you might say, that is always there. And what's repressed? Well, it's a bit similar, I think. Um, so with this card, what I'm feeling is that I get the feeling that you might be dealing with this process that your mother needs to go through, and so you're picking up the pieces, and you're dealing with it, and it's not particularly nice. And I think reverse nine of battens. I think that is. I think it's kind of quite undermining to you. Nine of battens is being in a strong position and feeling that you've got your defenses against the bad things in life. Your defenses are up and running. You're there. You know where you are. You've got your feet on the ground. You're kind of like dug in and there. That's what's happened. I think this, as a devil factor, I think it's going very, very deep at the moment, right into your subconscious. It feels like it's an unstable, a destabilizing moment. But just a second, I want to do something. I've got a reversed Page of Cups as an advice card. All I can say is that at the moment it feels like it's a time when there's a lot of openness to the unconscious in the air. It's a time when a lot of us are dreaming a lot. And that dream life, that subconscious life, those complicated, ambiguous emotions are swirling up to us in our dreams and in our nights. And I think it feels to me like you need to distance yourself a little bit from that and be very much in the light of day, and in the light of practicalities. And so I have this concept of emotional introspection, that has its place, but it can make things worse. So if possible, I would say no emotional introspection for you, if possible. Let me show you the whole reading. There you are. There are your two question, answer, and advice. I didn't really make any predictions there. It didn't seem to be what was called for. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. Very welcome. Okay, deep breath. That was Moy's reading. If there's anyone else who wants reading, we can do one at past. That's in a few minutes. Kate says, hi. That's lovely. Could you say what deck it is, please? as it pairs beautifully with the Aquarian? Well, that's a nice question, Kate. And yes, I can tell you. There's a lady, I think she's in France, she's certainly French speaking, and she calls herself Estrella. In fact, sometimes seems to call herself Ash. So sometimes she's sort of Ash la Estrella, Ash the star. And they're absolutely fabulous. As far as I can tell, she has 2 decks and maybe also an oracle deck. And this is her small size deck, and it's major arcanas only. You know, indie decks can be a little bit expensive if you have a habit. So she has a full size format and full size in terms of 78 cards deck, which is a Marseille deck. That costs about 60 euros or dollars. And this one, the Major Arcana only, small format, costs about 30 or something, half that. And I thought the Major Arcanas from this one were going to be the same as the Major Arcanas from the full one, but they're not. They're slightly different. And actually, I think the full deck, large size deck, is better because the Major Arcanas have got pop stars in them. So you got Tina Turner and Sean Connery, and stuff like that. But these, I really wanted a small deck, and I wanted a majors only deck, and so I've got this lovely Estrella deck. But yeah, buy one off her. She would be absolutely thrilled. She has a little shop online. I think if you just Google Estrella with a double L, you'll get to her. I think she's on Etsy, but certainly, you know, she's got videos and things. You'll get her. Oh, hi, Nick. Thanks for saying hi. Have a good day at work. Gosh, it's a Sunday and you're leaving for work. The colors are really, really nice. And yeah, well, they go with anything. I mean, they go with any other deck. So I have them, well, I have this this spread now that I kind of developed where I ask the majors to tell me what the questions are. And then, as you just saw, we have 2 or 3 or 4 questions, which are decided by these cards. And then I take another deck for the answers. And yeah, these are perfect. So now I've been up for 90 minutes. So I can have my caffeinated tea, because otherwise it doesn't work. Is there anybody who's got any news about great new decks or book news? Book news is always very much appreciated. I've got, you know, I review books, and I sometimes have, you know, my favorite tarot books. And about 18 months ago, I did a video called 7 Tarot Books That I Don't Recommend. And, you know, the horrible thing about YouTube searches is that if you have a negative in the title, like I don't recommend this, or this is not good, or how awful, you get more clicks. I suppose maybe it's a bit more spicy, isn't it, to hear about what people don't like. So that was my best-selling video ever by miles. And since then I thought, well, I should do another one. But the thing is, you know, I mean, you don't go out to shops and buy books in the hope that you're not going to like them. I mean, that would be a waste of money and it wouldn't be very nice. So I had to carry on reading and buying books and reading and stuff. And then, you know, I mean, maybe every other book one doesn't like. So I had to read 14 books to get 7 more books that I didn't like. But I eventually managed it. I eventually shot my second video of books that I don't like. And you know, there were books that I genuinely had bought thinking I was going to love them, and I didn't like them. Like there's a book by Susan Chang called 36 Secrets. And it's all about the minor arcana, without the aces and without the court cards, the pip cards. And she talks about how these minor arcana cards are connected to the 36 deacons in astrology. And I thought that was going to be fantastic. But I didn't like it. I found it overcomplicated, over astrological, and I found it was one of those tarot books that just adds to the confusion, unfortunately. There's this writer called Kat Willett who does comic strip style stuff. She did a comic strip style book about the life of Pamela Colman Smith that I hated. And I was tempted to get another of her books, to add to my pile of books that I don't like. Then I thought that is so negative, to buy a book that I'm probably not going to like just to make a video about it. Studies on mystical tarot on your recommendation, Saskia. Was that, that's Yolanda Robinson, right? That's a very interesting writer. Was that Yolanda Robinson, Saskia? Yeah. Very interesting. I mean, the thing is that when I read that book when I was researching the court cards, I think it's very good about the court cards. And I did use, I think that she reads these, these Rider-Waite-Smith images extremely, extremely well. She notices things in the images which no one else notices. Amazing about the Page of Swords. She notices that the birds flying above the Page of Swords form a fish. And she says this is because, you go from Page of Cups to Page of Swords. The fish, which is subconscious material, becomes birds, which is in the air, so it's intellectual, so it's ideas. So the subconscious material of the Page of Swords become the ideas, the unconscious material of the Page of Cups become the ideas in the Page of Swords. And no one else, I found no one else who has read these Pamela Colman Smith images with that amount of brilliance. So here we have the birds, and if you look at them, they do form the shape of a fish. So yeah, I mean, it's a Kabbalistic book, isn't it? And I can't quite deal with Kabbalah. I just have too much resistance. So there are parts of that book that I just have to sort of let them wash over me. But I think the good stuff is really, really good. And I think with court cards, incidentally, I think that you have to read very widely, and just pick up tips from different writers here and there. But I would say anyone who wants to know about the court cards, I would say that book is absolutely brilliant. The other one being Paul Houston, Mystical Origins of the Tarot. Yeah, I agree, Saskia. It's one of those Kabbalistic books where it's such a nice writer, it's such an interesting voice that you can glean things, can't you, apart from the Kabbalistic ideas. Does anyone else want any kind of reading? It's past, or maybe just a morning card? I'm going to London soon, so I should be able to go to the bookshops. I'll go to Watkins Books and have a look around there to see what they've got. It's always a big pleasure. So Saskia, you're in Greece. I don't think there's anyone in England joining us today because it's early, isn't it? It's 7:30 in the morning. Nick's gone to work, and everyone else is hopefully having a lie-in. But yeah, I mean, London is a bit of a pain, but at least there's Watkins books. Kate says, I just purchased a book. It was a reference text for my days studying creative arts at university. I loved semiotics as a subject. The book, Ways of Seeing by John Berger, is fabulous for cars. Really? Wow. And John Berger, I'm going to write that down. John Berger's rather, I always thought he was rather a difficult writer, but I've never, I think that, having not read him, John Berger, Ways of Seeing. And you think that's good for cards? Semiotics. Great. Thanks, Kate. See if I can get that cheap. So Lee, you're... Lee, are you in Australia? You're in NZ too, okay. So we've got Moy is in NZ. Is that right? Yes. Okay, so we've got 2 Kiwis, fantastic. And Kate says, it's an easy read. Okay, I'm going to read some semiotics. Fantastic. Maybe it'll transform my tarot praxis. Praxis is a German word. I live in Germany, so my English has become a bit sort of Germanized. Ways of Seeing is a brilliant book. Wow. I shall immediately Google that. Lee says, I'm struggling with Jung's Red book. Well, you know what? A friend of mine gave me a big version of the Red book, like a facsimile of it, like a huge, heavy coffee table edition of it. And it's an amazing beast, isn't it? But what do you do with it? Yeah, I agree. I think I found Jung very, very helpful when I was in my 30s and when I was kind of feeling a bit kind of alienated as a gay man in the society. And, a lot of psychology can be a bit, well, it's almost like people haven't really thought about gay people very much in psychological circles, or at least they hadn't been very gay positive. And I found Jung very helpful for that. But I find Jung as a writer quite difficult to grind one's way through. And then I found a book about Jungian, where Jungian psychologists were talking about sexuality, and that was really good. I find Jungians are often easier than Jung, aren't they? But Jung was an incredible person, and clearly, in a sense, very important to the sort of thing that we're doing when we do tarot cards. Do it in bites. Wow. Is it? I imagine it must be quite stimulating just to spend time with that book. Oh, talking of people in the early 20th century, I have been grinding my way through Aleister Crowley's Book of Thoth. Because, again, a year and a half ago, I made some negative comments about the Book of Thoth in my video about books I don't like. And someone wrote in and told me off for being so superficial. And I kind of knew he was right. So I kind of tried to mend my ways. I saw the error of my ways, and I read 2 biographies of Crowley, which were okay. And I've been trying to read Book of Thoth. And it's not that I'm stupid, but Book of Thoth is very strange. Lee, do you mean Crowley? The Book of Thoth is I would say beyond flowery. Or do you mean Jung? I think Crowley's problem in a way was that he was, in a sense, a literary person. I mean, he was also a mountain climber, wasn't he, and a drug taker and so forth. But I think when he sat down to write a book, it wasn't. I don't think his energy was always on like saying something or capturing the truth, or he didn't sort of like always use words to get from A to B. I think, yes, lost in his head. I think he was in a sense lost in literature. Like the poetry he wrote, which some people like, I think it's rather awful, really, Crowley's poetry, because it's so old fashioned. I mean, he was living in the time of beginning of modernism. He hated the modernist poets, and he just wanted to write like a 19th century poet or earlier. And I think when he writes Book of Thoth, he's basically just interested in writing as if he's writing the King James Bible, thou art this and thou art that, and I find it very alienating. And I think that he obviously was doing some quite interesting things, with channeling or magic and so forth. But wow, he didn't make it easy on the reader, did he? Ladies and gentlemen, the lines are open if anyone wants a reading, or if anyone wants a single antidepressive morning card, you are also very welcome. But yeah, I will eventually get to the end of the Book of Thoth, and after all that suffering reading it, I will reward myself by making a video about it. But I'm not sure I'll have anything particularly positive to say about it. I don't think I'd recommend it to any innocent person. I think it's probably more trouble than it's worth. And actually, I'll confess, I don't particularly like the Thoth deck. I think it's over fussy, and yeah, I've got his cards. I was just saying, for me, the Rider-Waite-Smith is what I've always worked with. That and the Aquarian, and I think it's a great system. I think Pamela Coleman Smith, with A.E. Waite, is an absolutely brilliant, inspired person, and I think Rider-Waite-Smith is a brilliant system, and I don't think anything else comes anywhere near it. Kate, you'd love an antidepressive card. Great. Well then, Kate, would you please give me a number between 1 and 10? And I'll give you a card. It's exciting, isn't it? I've put slow mode on, so everyone has to wait 15 seconds in between messages. That's to stop us being trolled by the militant atheists. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Guided, it says. I hope that's not in mirror writing. It is for me, but what it says is guided. That's your card for the day. Thomas Jordan says, RWS is a fine system in its own right. I think the Crowley deck is a bit overrated in my humble opinion. It certainly is interesting, but all systems have their virtues. Yeah, I think I agree, Thomas. I think RWS is a great step forward for tarot, and I think people get bored with it and then they go back to Marseille and what can I say? I mean, I think it depends what kind of brain you have and how you want to use tarot cards. I don't want to be snooty about Marseille cards because, after all, that is tarot for the first 400 years. Personally, I can't understand why anyone would want to use Marseille cards when you've got the RWS. But I do understand that some people like numerological systems, and so go for it. I think if I wanted a Marseille style deck, I might be able to give some attention to the Thoth, but as I don't, the Thoth is completely off the table for me, so I'm not kind of even tempted. Saskia, yes, an antidepressive card. Of course, it's easily done, and it's less taxing on my early morning brain than a full reading. So would you like to give me a number between 1 and 10, Saskia? when the system allows you to. Thomas, I'm thinking of coming out of retirement and going back to the workplace as both a musician and an acupuncturist. Oh, wow. This may involve a move. Okay, Thomas, hold that thought. I'll take a card for Saskia. I have to be very, very calm and organized. Question. I will pick a card for Saskia. Then Thomas, we will come back to that question. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Saskia, understanding. Understanding is your card for the day. And the thing about these cards is you just make of them what you will. Either you look for understanding and create understanding, or you can be passive and you can just receive it. And if it's just not there as something you give or something you receive, you can just get to the end of the day and just think about it. And the whole process is, I think, highly antidepressive. That's my lovely deck. Okay, Thomas. You're welcome, Saskia. Coming out of retirement and going back to the workplace as both a musician and acupuncturist. Okay. Gerne, as they say in Germany, I will willingly do a reading for you. Do you have, can you refine that? Is there a question there? Or shall we just say, let's look at, we could do a 7-card reading where we just look at the energies swirling around you at the moment with regard to that. This may involve a move. I mean, okay, everything except, there's quite a lot in there, and there is that question of the move. Are you thinking to yourself, should I move? Or is this may involve a move? Is that more in brackets at the end? I'll start shuffling. Let's take the Morgan Greer for Thomas here. Think about coming out of retirement, going back to the workplace, musician and acupuncturist. Okay, so I'm just going to give it just give it another minute in case you're typing anything more for me, Thomas. Okay, I'm shuffling the cards for Thomas Jordan here. I retired as a result as a pretty severe loss, and I'm very hesitant to go back to this. I do feel I need to do this, wondering whether to move back to Eastern US. Okay. Okay, so that's some more detail, Thomas. Let's just put down 7 cards and see how it looks. Thomas, I have could you please tell me left pile, center pile, or right pile? And then that means you've been a bit involved in the choosing of the cards. Left pile, okay, good. Reversals 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Environment, obstacles, outcome. Okay. I'll briefly show you what's on the table, but I need to be able to look at these in order to get the messages coming through. We've got past influences, 3 of Pentacles, present influences, world, future influences, reversed 8 of Pentacles, advice card reversed 9 of Pentacles, environment card strength, obstacles reversed 6 of Batons, possible outcome if you carry on in this current direction, hermit. They're very interesting cards. So let me just like allow myself to pull all this together. I think that the first thing that comes to mind is, and I'll jump around this, is that in future circumstances, if you've got an 8 of Pentacles, it feels like, for me, that's the card of sort of like unemployment, because this is the card of being busy, right? And producing and working and having something to do and having something that you do. So future circumstances, that reversed, it feels like in the future circumstances, you might start to feel unemployed. You might start to feel like you're kicking your heels. So this sounds like your instinct is right. And you told me that you retired as a result of a pretty severe loss. And I was thinking maybe in the past circumstances, we would see something emotional. But we don't see that, I guess because we didn't need to be told that. What I see in the past is 3 of coins upright. In other words, you more than laid foundations. You created stuff. You built stuff in the past, and that's coins. That's professional. That's practical. So you've got that there. And that's important, what you've done in the past for yourself professionally, whether it's training or whether it's your achievements. And present circumstances, that's a sort of like a completion. That's a sort of a summing up. And I don't know exactly what your loss is, and I won't speculate, but so I'll choose my words carefully. But it feels like something might have come to a close. In other words, that to some extent, that dealing with that loss, that process might now be complete, enabling you to think of coming back in. So in a sense, those 3 cards those three cards, they do look like a natural move towards going back into work. Environment obstacles. Okay, so environment strength. Environment's pretty good for you, professional environment. Though we could ask which environment. Obstacles, Six of Batons, delays. So the obstacle is that it might take longer than you would like. And okay, outcome, this whole project is going to the project is recommended, but it's going to throw you into a deep soul searching, and that sounds like the move. Advice card, reversed Nine of Pentacles. Let me think. What I'm getting is that I think it's a sort of basically a yes to going back into employment, because if you were Nine of Pentacles, you would be in a position where you could just wait for prosperity just to come to you. Like the lady in this card has a hawk, and this hawk just goes and gets more product, and so the lady doesn't actually have to do anything. She's prosperous enough to just create prosperity passively, and the advice is you're not quite in that position yet. So again, I think the advice is yes, go back into the workplace. I think the question of relocating is another question, which I don't think we're going to go into now. But I do think if it's Hermit, I think the answer lies in yourself. Or at least, Thomas, I think you can find out ways of clarifying that for yourself, whether it's research or whether it's meditation or whether it's talking to people. The answer is there, but I think it's going to take a lot of thought to decide about the relocation. Deep breath. We're coming up to the hour. That was Thomas's reading. Thanks for listening. I'm going to stop soon. Thank you all very much for joining me. If there's anyone who would like a single card, I call them morning cards, but it might not be morning if you're on the other side of the world. If there's anyone who would like a single antidepressive card, let me know. Otherwise, thank you all very much for joining me, and it's been a very mellow and friendly and creative chat today, and I'm very pleased. I've enjoyed it. So it's one of those days when you think, isn't the internet fun? Lady Booksmith, thank you. Isn't it fun that we've been talking between Germany and New Zealand and everywhere in between? Incidentally, is anyone actually in like the west coast of the US? Is that where you are, Thomas? Are you in California or somewhere like that? Because I kind of thought that. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Saskia. I thought when I did this timing of like 7 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, I thought that could be quite good. You get Australia, you get the Eastern Hemisphere, and you kind of get the very west. You're in the Midwest. So, Thomas, it must be fairly late for you at the moment. It must be like 1 o'clock in the morning. Morphin Cannon, thank you for the live. It has been a pleasant morning. Oh, thank you very much for tuning in. It's been fun for me. I can hear the church bells chiming 9. Thomas, nearly 3 a.m. Wow. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. My lives are normally 12 hours later. So next time it would be 3 p.m. for you, or between 2 and 3 p.m., I suppose. The church bells have chimed 9 o'clock here in Berlin, 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to finish my tea and I might slink back to the bedroom and have a little lie down with a book. So good morning, good evening, good night to everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I will do it again, maybe. I think it makes a nice change to do it at this time. It's been very, very nice. Thank you, Thomas, and good luck. Sounds very interesting. Thank you, Kate. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Bye. My next live will be in January. It'll be 2025. Think of that. A new number for us all, a new vibration. Bye. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you next time.